So we continue to have this until we start to address some of those to really make those bodies to be independent. And that's why the civil society also feels that, look, we need to make the IDEC. The IDEC is supposed to be an independent electoral management body that will be, seen by all to be able to conduct a free and fair election. So if it doesn't have that, then of course the whole democratic process and even the exercise of the sovereign right of people to franchise, to choose who will be their leader, is threatened.
Let me also follow up on what you highlighted previously about the invasion of the National Assembly. But we do know ever since then that the acting president had ordered the sack of the DG of the DSS at the time. But there's this narrative we hear to perhaps speak to us about it, about the powers of the acting president or the president to sack the DSS.
Well, basically, that is politics again. He who appoints can also remove, particularly where there is a flagrant abuse of power that threatens the whole democratic institution. If the DSS invades another arm of government, I don't think we should carry out debates about, whether it should not be removed or it should not be removed. It means that that kind of person constitutes a threat to the existence of the whole democratic institutions that we have when you lay siege to one arm of government. And don't forget, the National Assembly is the most representative arm of government of the three arms of government. In terms of the constituent representation, each one of us have a constituent member representing our constituency. When you talk about the executive, you have the global, constituencies represented in the president. Whereas in the National Assembly, you have the constituent constituencies, each one of us. And this particular body that represents us is being threatened. I think that person should be fired.
Have we dug deep enough to, because you said, okay, he's been fired, but have we dug deep enough to see that he acted on his own?
That is a different question. He is the head of the institution that invaded. The issue of investigation is to determine who are the others who have participated or whatever led to this. And that can be done in investigation. But in terms of clear, present, and imminent danger that this person posed to the whole polity, he needed to be removed.
So are you saying that he took the fall?
He didn't take the fall. He's been responsible for his actions.
Yeah, but
he's not a fall guy.
Is there anything legally wrong with the acting president firing him?
I think there's nothing legally wrong with the acting president firing him. He was acting as the president, and the president has the power, and he exercised the power.
Should he be persecuted?
The issue of prosecution will depend on whether there's a subsequent investigation. If there has been a criminal act involved, then of course it should be prosecuted.
Is there likelihood that there might be a criminal act from what, breaching the principle of separation of powers, going to sort of lay siege on the National Assembly? Is that something that's...
Oh, well, basically the laying siege, you have to find concrete criminal provisions to tie his act to for him to be found, prosecutable. But just generally, it's a misconduct that has been dealt with. The issue of prosecution for crimes would be that he must have committed...
With respect to investigation now, because there are different schools of thought about who should investigate and how, or who should make up the body of investigation. They cite principle of natural justice. So from your perspective, do you think that, well, the police, they have the legal powers to go ahead with that, or do we have a body made up of some other personnel other than the police to investigate and make sure that it comes out clear?
I think in Nigeria, why is it that we're always trying to reinvent the rule? Who has the power for prosecution constitutionally? Who has the power for investigation? Once there are institutions that are constitutionally and legally vested with these powers, they should be able to exercise these powers. It is only when they are conflicted in interest, then of course, individuals can be conflicted, but to say that the whole Nigerian police is conflicted or some other institutional body that has prosecutorial power is conflicted, I think we're stretching it.
No, but if the report or preliminary report comes up and there's a lot of questions from different Nigerians about,
well, basically,
is that sufficient to raise
it's possible to have a judicial panel of inquiry in order to ensure independence. That's often done in situations like this, so that at least those people who are doing the prosecution and investigation will be seen to be independent, and the outcome of their investigation will be above board.
Would you be shocked if he's reinstated at one point in time or the other?
Well, since this is Nigeria, nothing shocks us anymore.
Oh dear. This is Nigeria.
This is Nigeria. I mean, it's happened before. I mean, for one reason or the other, it can be, but it will be a situation of a malady when the presidential power is exercised to sack, and for whatever reason. Are you saying that the acting president was not properly briefed or appraised of the fact to inform his decision? But this is Nigeria, where, some other ties can override national ties. And I think that would be a sad day when we get to that level.
Because the thoughts now, maybe we should clarify it further. The thoughts now is that it's very likely or maybe possible, a scenario that we can see, because it's not happening, it has happened before, that the president, on resumption or coming back to the country, could say that perhaps that wasn't right and have Lawal Daura back.
Well, if that happens, then that is the decision of the president, and the president will have to face the consequences of his act.
You said this is Nigeria. You use that phrase multiple times. What exactly do you mean?
Well, you see, in Nigeria, individual interests can even override national interest. In Nigeria, personalities are bigger than institutions. In Nigeria, one thing that is wrong when it was done could be right after some moments of meditation. Because you look at it, when I hear the discussion going on, we talk about PDP, for instance, like if PDP is a saint party. We talk about APC like if we were all here in 2015. We seem to have amnesia when it comes to the events that really led us to where we are. And we get like if marooned in things that are not consequential to our future. And we start doing a blaming game, and eventually we come up with things that when other people look at you, they'll think you are local.
So I'm wondering why Lawal should be sacked. Because you had the situation with the former DSS boss, Mr. Ekpeong, who was investigated before the sack came, but this was spontaneous.
This was spontaneous because the action was such that it was like, it's like what we call the contempt of court. When you commit contempt of court, the judge doesn't say, oh, he deals with it in the face of it. This was in your face. You don't allow a fly or a stick to enter your eyes and blind you. This action was, it was condemned all over the world.
We'll come back to this in a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back. Well, Prof, how do we get to that stage where we won't have individuals become more powerful than institutions?
It's a process. You find out that when you look at even established democracies, we always hold out the US and the rest of them. They all went through their period of building institutions instead of, personalities. And this is what the stage where this country is. We have to answer the question what we want our future to be like. We can't continue to be like this. A lot of countries are leaving us behind. If you look at Ethiopia, if you look at South Africa, if you look at Ghana, they've all left us behind. Whereas in 1960, we held out more hope, more future of greatness, of institutional development. But down the line, we just got moribund in this, individualistic play of grabbing for power for purposes of, feathering your nest or taking care of your ethnic group or this. And it can't continue like this. So we need to address it by either coming together. People have said it. Let's have a sitting down. It's been proposed, and let's determine what is it we want out of this country. People have talked about restructuring. People have talked about sovereign national conference. People have talked about so many things, but we've never addressed the problems that we have to be able to. Even the constitutional amendment processes we have had are minuscule. They don't address the national issues. They don't address the future of this country. We have a growing youth population that is restless, and we are not having institutional, development that will address the critical problems of this country.
You know, it's interesting because there's so many views, and how to bring them all together is a challenge. I mean, while so many people think that we don't need more political parties, a couple of days ago, 23 more were registered. So those other people think, no, we need more political parties. But I don't know if they'll be on the ballot, because, I mean, I think I read INEC talking to NAN on the 31st of July saying, well, if they register 6 months before the elections, they may not participate in the elections.
Yeah, but I think the chairman of INEC made it clear that the reason why they are giving them these 23 now, out of 144 or something that applied, is to ensure that this 23 will get on the ballot. And it's part of the reason why the budget is being inflated.
But you know, the other thing which when we saw in Ekiti, is just about 2 leading parties. The rest of them shared about 13% of the vote. So if this party is no chance to get elections, but they just think they need to register themselves.
Basically, you can have a de jure, political system that determines, the political parties you have, or you can have a de facto. In Nigeria, for instance, we've always had a de facto two-party state of one party in government, another smaller cluster of parties challenging, and then you have the fringe individualistic parties that have no relevance. INEC at some time tried to deregister some of those.
They went to court.
They went to court and succeeded, because it's constitutionally guaranteed for you to have the freedom of association and to form political parties once you meet the requirement. Who says maybe one of these political parties being registered may be the one that will win the election post 2019. After all, APC came up just some few, like we said, the APC is a cloth of many patch fabrics. Unfortunately, in the movement here and there, the fabric has come apart.
At that point, Professor Oyewo is of Public Law, University of Lagos. Thank you for coming on this morning.
It's a pleasure.
That's our show today. We thank you all for watching as well. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
I'm Gimba Umar.
I'm Neo Taigbe.
I'm Malpe Ogun Yusuf.
Have a great day, everybody. I'm Ajuri Ngelale.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this program are those of the maker and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, and endorsement of Channels Television.